Welcome back to Chaos Collectibles. This is episode 7 of the Coffee Talk. Today's topic is eBay and how to get the best deals. So there's a lot of people on eBay who have buy it now auctions that offer a best offer. You can go back and forth with them on offers through eBay. I think you get 5 chances to do so. However, I've run into a situation where somebody was actually thinking outside the box. So this was with the very first statue I ever bought. And since then, I have used this same method on probably half of the statues that I've purchased. So this guy had the Conan statue, very first statue I bought. And I made him an offer. So what he ended up doing was he took a picture of a note and sent it to me. And it said, handwritten, so eBay couldn't read it because you don't want to put certain things in text, and it says, I have the Conan. And he left his email across the bottom. So I ended up emailing him, and him and I ended up working out a deal to where it saved me money and it saved him on all the fees except for PayPal, because he still had me and I still did purchase G&S. So the only thing he got hit with was 4% fees, PayPal, G&S, and I don't know what eBay charges anymore. I haven't sold anything on there since 2021, since the whole government, BS with taxing on selling your own items that you've already paid taxes for and not being a business. So, which is why I stopped selling on eBay. So since then, somebody has now, if you do this, you are doing it at a risk, okay? Worst case scenario, somebody can report you to eBay. I have not had that happen. Worst case scenario that I've had is somebody just not responding. Sometimes people will say, no, let's just do it through the auction, okay? So what I would do is handwrite a note, will you accept XYZ through PayPal, G&S, handwrite my email, take a picture, send it to them. Works pretty good. So I have not had any issues with doing it that way, but it's just another way to think outside the box as far as trying to get the best deal on eBay, but not only for yourself. And this is why it works so well, because there is an incentive for the seller too. So that's pretty freaking awesome. So next thing we have is I ended up getting these heads from Joshua Kessner. You can check him out on the 5.5 group. He does do 3D printed figures, heads. He customizes his own costumes and things like that. So I ended up getting some heads from him. It was $10 for a lot of 5 heads. He had a few on there I wanted to buy, but I told him I just wanted to see how these would work before I ended up buying too many. $5 shipping, so he sent me 5 heads. What's that work out to? $3 a piece. I mean, you can't beat it. So why not roll the dice on such a cheap item? Thing is a lot of these heads are kind of small. The sculpt on them is pretty good, but that it seems to be the biggest thing that I run into, because the 5.5 figures are so chunky that if you have a narrow head, chances are they're going to be more narrow than the neck. And you have to sculpt the neck on these things, and they, unless you want a figure that looks like Neckzilla, you really have to be mindful. That's why I don't like using the Mythic Legions heads, So I'll kind of show you a couple of the heads that I got. So here's one of them. This is actually the one that I bought it for, because I thought it would be, actually it's not. So there's this head here. I mean, it looks pretty cool. It's hard to see the details with the shadows and stuff, but pretty cool head. I mean, I think he makes these more or less for Masters of the Universe Origins and his own bodies that he 3D sculpts. I mean, that would be something that I would really like to do, is the 3D sculpting and print my own stuff, but it's time, you know, you got to learn the programs on the 3D models and all that stuff, and figure out how to use a printer. And I mean, I'm sure it's pretty costly too. This is actually the head that I bought the lot for. I just think it's a little too narrow. And I'll show you a size comparison with these, as well as with, you know, some of the Remco heads and things like that, just to kind of show you. I mean, some of these are a little bigger than others. I would rather work with a head that's slightly a little big, as opposed to something that's too small. And by slightly, I mean slightly, not, you know, using a 1/6 scale head on these. But they definitely have to be bigger than a 1/12 scale head for them to work. So let's see, and then there's this one. I don't know if I showed you that one or not. I'm not really paying attention to which ones I'm showing you as I do this. And then he ended up sending me another head as a bonus, just because there's this one here. So, I mean, they do look good. I mean, don't get me wrong, right? The guy did good work. He mailed them to me the next day like he said he was gonna. I mean, he's a trusted seller. So, I mean, that's another thing. You roll the dice when you do this stuff, you know, and I did send in the money F&F, you know. As far as things like that goes, I don't always do goods and services, small purchases like this, whatever, you know. I mean, especially since me having a channel, people, you know, I'll call them out on here, and I'll call them out in the pages. I mean, I don't care, right? I mean, it is what it is. Sometimes you just have to be that person, and if people don't screw you over, then you're not that person, right? Don't have to worry about it. So now let's do a size comparison. Here is Devourer head. So let's start with this head. Now you can see it's a little more narrow. It's a little bit smaller. So there's a potential that it may look a little Beetlejuicy if I, you know, at the end of the movie when the voodoo guy ends up shrinking Beetlejuice's head. So probably won't go with this one, although this is my favorite head of the lot. I wanted to make a cool Viking with a mohawk to go with my Viking group that I have. This one, size is a little better. You know, if I were to use this head, I would make him into a thief of sorts. So, I mean, this one may be pretty cool. I could probably sculpt that beard a little bit longer to give it the illusion of being slightly larger head, but still, again, I mean, look at the width. It is still a little narrow. So I'm gonna have to play around with that to see if it would work. And if I were to use any of these heads, I'll get to that in a minute. I would choose a cuffless Zolo, and I'll show you why in a minute. So this one here scales pretty decent, not too bad. I mean, and then this one here is probably my second favorite head. It's almost the same one as the Mohawk one, but he doesn't have the, you know, the eyebrows, demeanor eyebrows. So I could probably sculpt a Mohawk on that. I just thought it would be cool to have a Mohawked Viking, you know? And then of course there's this one, which doesn't scale too bad. And then there's this one. Again, a little on the smaller side. So what I would do, if I were to use any of these heads, and I'll probably play around with them today or tomorrow, is I would use a body like this. And what I mean by a body like this is it would have to be a cuffless body, because the cuffless Zolo figures have more rounded sloped shoulders, where, didn't have to go far, where these have more rounded, you know, bigger, bolder shoulders as opposed to this guy here. So it would really look weird on a body like this as opposed to a body like this, because this has a more slumped, more narrow shoulder than something like this where it's much, much wider. So Another thing I did want to show you is, you know, if I do decide, I've been thinking about using this one too. I would definitely have to use the more narrow shouldered Zolo, but you know, this head is actually smaller than this one. So can I get this one to work? I don't know. I would love to. I just wish it was just about 10% larger, because that is a cool frickin' head. Like that. That would be so cool to have another pirate, you know? Which is actually part of the reason why I got that Spawn figure, because this is going to be the pirate that I had with the hook. But I ended up using it on Kalalu the other day when I did that one. So that's that. Just wanted to show you guys this stuff, and this video is going on a lot longer than I wanted it to. Next thing is I ended up reaching out to Oliver here a little bit ago. He does have an eBay store, but again, if I can just reach out to him, you know, personally, and have him do a print for me, it saves him fees and it saves me money too. And I figure, so yeah, I already, you know, got that in the works, so I'm just waiting for him to print that and send it to me. Once I get it, I will show you what it is. I will paint that bad boy up and see how it goes into the line of figures that I have. I don't want to give you too much information on that yet, because I want to see how that's going to work out. So pretty excited about getting that one. So there you have it, everybody. That is the Coffee Talk, episode 7. And yeah, thanks again for tuning in. I hope you all have an awesome day. Until next time. Woo!